Yes, I see the
All right.
message.
All right. And do me a favor, text me when you're finished, and I'll go back in and stop the recording.
Will do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lindsay. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Okay, well, good morning to everyone, and welcome to our Strategic Enrollment Management Professional Development Series. My name is Patricia Harris, and I am a member of the SEM Task Force. So you are duly welcome on the behalf of our task force leader, Dr. Monty Hickman, in his absence, and all members of our SEM Task Force. We are excited because we have two phenomenal presenters with us this morning who will share some great information and also help us as we are navigating these SIM lifestyles and plans. So we have Dr. Ken Engel with us, Chief Officer of Information Services and CIO at Rowan Cabarrus Community College, and Ms. Elizabeth Stoddard, Director of Analytics and Reporting Research and Performance Management at the System Office, to share with us this morning. So before I turn it over to them, just one quick housekeeping note. Please make sure your mics are muted unless it's time for question and answer. But without further ado, I will turn it over into the hands of our presenter.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Stoddard. As Patricia said, I'm the Director of Analytics and Reporting here at the System Office, and I work on the Research and Performance Management team. My team is responsible, among other things, my team is responsible for the dashboards, the NCCCS system-wide data dashboards that some of you might have seen and might have been to presentations about. And so that's what I will be talking about during the first half of this presentation today. And I'm super glad to be joined by Dr. Engel from Rowan Cabarrus, and who will be talking about how he and his team take the data to the next level and use it locally to inform their own enrollment management strategies. I'm going to start by kind of talking about what our dashboards can't do, what the system-wide RPM dashboards can't do, which is, again, why I'm glad to be joined here by Dr. Engel, and then what we can do. And then I'm going to I'll share my screen and walk through some of our dashboards to show you what we can do and how we can help. So what we cannot do is show you real-time or even near-time data. The one limitation of the dashboards that my team works on is that they're always kind of at a lag. I think we do a good job of showing you what happened last semester or last year or over the last 5 years. We do that really well, I think, but our team here at the system office, we just don't have the ability to do much with like real time or near time data. So having said that, as I was thinking about this presentation today and what you all do every day in your jobs, I was thinking about kind of challenges to enrollment management strategies and what some of those challenges might look like, and where my team could come in and help. And a couple of a couple of challenges that I thought about were like shifting demographics, whether that's the demographics in the population of your service area or things happening at the LEA level, any sort of like changes in demographics over time is probably going to affect enrollment and then enrollment management. Also, retention is a big thing, and if we're not retaining students, that obviously is going to affect enrollment and enrollment management as well. And so I think those two challenges are two places that the data dashboards that I'm going to show you, two places where we can help. So again, we can't show you like what's happening at your college right now, but we can show you changes in your demographics over the last year, over the last 5 years, and that can kind of inform current decisions, especially utilizing local data as well. And we can also show what's happening with your retention. First year progression persistence is one of our state performance measures, and we do have a dashboard that really digs down into that at the local level. And again, it's at a lag. We're showing you like of students who started a year ago, how many or how are they progressing and being retained, but that's still helpful, I think, to know, are we seeing kind of gaps between any of our demographics, and if so, what do we need to do about that? So that being said, I am going to share my screen here, and then I'm going to kind of dive into a couple dashboards. So let me share. Patricia, could you let me know if you can see my screen? Could you give me a thumbs up?
I can see it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. The easiest probably way to get to the dashboards on the system office page is to start with the ncommunitycolleges.edu homepage. It'll look something like this, and then you'll see this little icon in the top left. We call it a hamburger icon sometimes. You can click on that. It'll bring up this little menu in the middle of the page. Click on analytics and reporting. This will bring you to the research and performance management homepage. If you click on dashboards, you'll get to our dashboard homepage. Our dashboards are organized by theme, and you can click on any of these headings to see a list of the dashboards within that theme. So you can feel free to explore these dashboards at any time, but there are two that I'm going to focus on today over the next 10 minutes or so for this presentation. One, I'm going to show you all a headcount enrollment dashboard, and then I'm going to show you all the first year progression persistence dashboard. So the headcount enrollment will kind of inform changing demographics, and the first year progression persistence dashboard will inform retention at your college. So I just clicked to open this heading for student, program, and course enrollment. There are a few different dashboards here. These first 4 on the list, you'll see total headcount, curriculum headcount, continuing education headcount, and basic skills headcount. These dashboards are all very similar. They have the same kind of disaggregations of the data. They're formatted the same way, have the same pages. The only difference is the students that we're looking at in each of these dashboards. So the total headcount looks at all of your students, curriculum, Con Ed, basic skills, just everyone on your campus. And then, of course, the other 3 break out those individual academic levels. So for this presentation, I'm just going to focus on the curriculum headcount dashboard, but know that like once you kind of understand what's happening with that one, the other ones are going to be the same thing, and you'll be able to walk through any of those headcount dashboards. So I'm going to open here curriculum headcount. These dashboards were built in Tableau, and if you're not familiar with kind of the structure, you'll see across the top here, there are a number of different tabs. You can click on any of these tabs to be directed to a different page that just contains different disaggregations of the data, and I'll walk through some of that. And the right-hand side of the screen here of the dashboard, on all of our dashboards, this is where you can kind of choose your filters, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But so this dashboard, curriculum headcount, is really just giving you analyses of your curriculum students enrolled at your colleges. This first page lets you kind of filter the whole dashboard down to, you can look across all of your students, or you can filter to your dually enrolled students or not dually enrolled students. I'm going to keep it at all students. And then on this overtime page, this is where you can really start kind of digging down here. But it's starting just by giving you kind of this overview, this head count over time, total CU enrollment over time. You can select your college from this filter at the top here. Dr. Engel graciously let me or said that I could use Rowan Cabarrus as my selected college as I'm doing this demo. So I'm going to click Rowan Cabarrus. And then you can, throughout all the pages of this dashboard, you can compare your selected college here to either NCCCS, like system-wide totals, or you can choose another college, a peer or a neighbor or whatever, to compare against. And then you can look across, like when we're looking at trends here, you can choose whether you're looking across summer, fall, or spring. I'm going to click on fall. I'm going to leave it at this for now and just show, like, so we're seeing right off the bat here at Rowan Cabarrus that there was a pretty big increase in enrollment happening between fall 17, fall 18, and fall 19 that we're not seeing that same level of increase system-wide. So that was something that was happening at Rowan Cabarrus. And then starting in fall 19 through fall 22, it's kind of leveling off with maybe a little COVID dip here between fall 20 and fall 21, which I think we saw everywhere. So this is just kind of the big picture. The next few pages of this dashboard allow you to dig in a little more to your demographics. So demographics and other characteristics, but the first tab here is demographics, and here we'll see a few different pages underneath the tab name, and these show you different disaggregations of the data. So we're seeing trends in enrollment, CU enrollment, in this case broken out by sex, female, male, over time. You can hover over these data points on the graph to see the numbers and statistics behind them. One data point here that I like when I'm hovering over and this tooltip pops up, I like to be able to see the percent difference from the previous term. So like right now, I'm looking at female, the data line for female students, and I can see between fall 17 and fall 18, there was an 11% increase in my female students, and then another 10% increase in males, or sorry, another 10% increase between 18 and 19. And then similarly for males, we had a 4% increase from 17 to 18, and then a 14% increase from 18 to 19. That's what we're seeing from this line graph on the left. On the right, we're just seeing the proportions, the distribution of females to males. And we can see that it's pretty much staying steady. So, about 35 to 40% males versus around 65% females over this six term period. If we look at it by race ethnicity, we can look to see if anything stands out here. You can also click on these categories on the legend to see, that one's kind of smaller, but to see the actual like numbers and data points underneath. So like most of these trends are kind of staying steady. I'm just clicking through. For Hispanic students, I'd say we're seeing an increase here, although the numbers are still on the smaller side. But I think Hispanic students, we're seeing more of an increase. And as far as distribution, we went from 12% in fall 17 to 16% in fall 22. Then the biggest share of students are going to be the white students, but we did see kind of a decrease from fall 19 really to fall 22 in terms of the numbers and percentage of white students enrolled here. The next tab or the next page here just kind of combines race, ethnicity, and sex. So we can break it out by like Black female, Black male, Hispanic female and male, and then so on. And then age range. Here's where we can actually see some more happening. So this category for age range under 18, this is probably mostly going to be dual enrollment students. And here is where we see a pretty big increase from fall 17, 18, 19, and even fall 20. So my guess, just from looking at this graph, my guess is that Rowan Cabarrus was probably doing something with the dual enrollment program over this time. And not just Rowan Cabarrus, we see this system-wide too, this increase in dual enrollment students over this period. But it is, kind of significant here at the Rowan Cabarrus college, or, at that community college. And then with the other age groups here, we're not seeing, I think that these are pretty much staying steady. So that increase in enrollment was really being driven by this under 18 group. And so you can go do these deep dives at your own college to see where you're seeing increases, where you're seeing decreases in enrollment. And then that can kind of drive future questions like how, if you're seeing a decrease in your Black male population, that can kind of drive recruitment strategies, marketing, things like that. So again, these headcount dashboards I think are good at giving you an idea of who is enrolling and who, which groups are decreasing, and then allowing you to kind of take that to the next level in terms of what you can do about it. There are a number of more tabs here and more data views that I'm not going to go into right now because I do want to show you the other dashboard that I have here before I turn it over to Ken, but you can always contact me after, anytime really, to ask questions or, talk more about dashboards. The other dashboard I want to show you is one of our state performance measures. So I'm going to click open that heading on the dashboard, and I'm going to go down here. It's PM4, which is first year progression persistence. For our performance measure dashboards, each of them have two dashboards. We have one that really delves into your institutional outcomes, and then one that looks more at peer comparisons. But for this, I'm going to look at just the institutional outcomes. I'm actually going to skip this tab right now and go right to the second tab, which is success rate overview. I'm going to select my college from the list. Again, I'm going to go here to Rowan Cabarrus, and let me talk for a second about what we're actually looking at here. So this measure is first year progression. So for this, we're looking at students who were starting in a particular fall term. In this case, it's students who started in fall 21, who were first time when they started, first time college students, credential seeking. So that's our population here for this dashboard, first time fall credential seeking students. And then the metric we're looking at is the percentage of those students who in their first year of college, so from first fall to second fall, who graduated or remained enrolled in post-secondary, like by that subsequent fall term. So this is telling us at Rowan Cabarrus, of those first-time fall credential seeking students, 67.2% of them remained enrolled or graduated prior or by that second fall term, by fall 22. And this is compared to 68.7% at the system level. So that's a pretty, that rate is kind of right on par with system level. You can do some more filtering here. You can look only at your dual enrolled students. You can look at only your full-time or part-time students. I'm just going to leave it here at the overall level. And I'm going to go straight over here to the demographics tab, because this is where we can start digging down. So looking at this first tab, first year progression by sex, this is going to break out that rate that we saw, that success rate, by females versus males in this case. And this graph here on the top left is telling us that at Rowan Cabarrus, for this cohort, the fall 21 cohort, 70% of the females in the cohort were successful, so had progressed or been retained, and 63% of the males. So we can see that females are doing a bit better here than males. This graph on the top right just gives you an idea of the numbers of students in each group. So the height of the bar represents the total number of students. So this is just telling us that there were more females in the cohort than males. And on the bottom here, this graph is just showing us the trend over time. So between the fall 19 cohort and the fall 20 cohort, females actually had a decrease in their success, while males had an increase in their success, bringing those success rates pretty close together here in fall 20. And then between the fall 20 cohort and the fall 21 cohort, we saw the gap kind of getting larger again. Not as large as it was here in fall 19, but it is kind of widening. Let's see. And then we have this same kind of layout of the data that I just explained. We have it broken out by a number of different demographics, characteristics that you can always feel free to dig into. Then the next one here is race ethnicity, but I actually wanted to go to the next tab, which is sex and race ethnicity. This is the combination again of race, ethnicity, and sex, and here we can see overall that males are have lower success on this measure than females do. But what stands out to me here is this line for the Black males, which I'm hovering over right now, because I think that is, if I were looking at this data in terms of, where can we improve, that would be kind of something that stands out to me. Because this line for the Black males is lower than the other males or the other groups of males here by a bit, and then also lower than the females. So that's an example of how you can read these dashboards, how you can kind of move through, and the type of data that you can see here. Again, there's a lot more that we can do on these dashboards, but I think that was kind of a just a little overview and a little demo of how you can dive in. So I'm going to stop presenting now, or stop sharing my screen, and turn it over to Ken. But I'm also happy to answer questions. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and I'll be here to answer.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. I always enjoy seeing the dashboards and the work done there. I know we use them extensively here, and I can say I personally very much appreciate all the work that's gone into them. They help us out a lot, so I very much appreciate that. And some of those numbers I would like to see go in better directions for us as we continue forward, which we're working on. So here at Rowan Cabarrus, we're very fortunate. We have a wonderful team and partners in our student success area, academic programs across the entire organization to work with on our data efforts. And what I would say about what we're doing is what we see kind of at a macro level in the system level dashboards. We try and locally take those and obviously have them more specific for us and drill down into more sub areas within that, and get a little closer to real time and even leading in some cases where we're able to. So holistically, the way we approach the work that we're doing from a dashboard and from a data analysis perspective is first and foremost built around partnerships. I mentioned the partnership we have with our student success team, which is I certainly think excellent, and my wonderful colleague Natasha that leads that team is just amazing to work with, and her entire team is. But we also really try and be very transparent about data. So one of the things I appreciate so much about the system office dashboards is that we can all see them and that we can all access them and look at them and see that information. Internally, we try and do the same thing with the data that we make available. We don't make people come and always submit requests for every single piece of data they want to see. We try and make it as available as possible. We're certainly happy to support custom requests that are outside of the scope of those dashboards that we create, but definitely try and do that. And we're constantly evolving them. So where I'll definitely like to share some of the dashboards that we're building and how we're looking at them and how we're using them. But what I would say is we try and look at data from multiple lenses, and then how can we adjust those lenses as we go. So I'm going to share my screen as well, and I'll click through a few of our dashboards. We have quite a few, so I'm not going to bore you with all of them by any means, but always happy to share any that anyone would like to see and answer questions. So let's see if I can get the right window shared here. If you're like me, I always have a lot of windows open on my computer, probably more than I need. So this is one of the dashboards that we utilize very frequently, and most of our dashboards update every night. So every night in the middle of the night, our data refreshes. We use the colleague operational data store, which is a colleague product that we all have access to as part of what we have within that environment, as well as some other data sources. So we're working to pull in data from our learning management platforms where possible, other student support systems that we have, and other data sources like Lightcast and Jobs EQ where relevant to help us out. So this is an example, and I've tried to preload a lot of these to kind of give a good view of it, but I think we're all very focused on enrollment, and so this is an example of a curriculum enrollment dashboard that we look at, and we look at every week in our cabinet meeting as an example to see how we're progressing towards enrollment. So as we're looking towards the fall, right now we're 19 days away from the start of fall. This is looking at the fall of 2019 and 2018 in particular, but you can see this dashboard shows the progression over time of enrollment for the college, specifically in our curriculum programs. From that, though, one of the things that we've worked really hard to do and that we feel like really helps support our partners throughout the college is, again, trying to create that opportunity for other lenses. So we're a multi-campus environment. We're really, it's something we're focused on very frequently, is how we're doing across our multiple campuses. So we have the ability to click a drop down and say, okay, we want to see, our South Campus specifically, and then it goes out into the database and refreshes. You can select multiple campuses and multiple filters. So you can see in this case, we have our student type, our campus, delivery method, and a program are the 4 primary filters we have in this particular data set. And if you'll notice here, it takes, it can take a minute to reload all of that data because it's doing a lot of calculations behind the scenes. But we feel like that flexibility that's provided from that, and that pulling from a real database of very frequently updated data is worth the slight performance hit that we have there. So, as we look to this fall, for example, you can see this is kind of what it looks like while it's still in progress. This sharp line is not that enrollment stopped. It's just the day that we happen to be at right this moment, that we're 19 days before the start of the term. But it does give us a really good view to see, okay, how are we tracking towards that enrollment overall, and do we see ourselves in line with what we anticipate and expect? But we don't certainly only look at enrollment. If you'll notice, there are a lot of links over here on the left of our kind of dashboard page. And one of the things we do with our dashboards is we give access to anyone in the college who asks for access. So, and they have access to all of these dashboards to take a look at. So as we think about the full kind of enrollment cycle and enrollment funnel, obviously overall enrollment is something that we're looking at. You can see on this dashboard, kind of looking at curriculum as a whole. I pulled up fall of 2019 because that was a term that we've already finished, so you can kind of see a final view of it. But we can see it broken down by campus, by our student demographics, and then the types of enrollment. So, are they traditional, early college, or CCP? Elizabeth mentioned the growth of our dual enrollment program, our CCP program. That's certainly something that has grown over the years, and we're really proud of that. But it's something that we want to monitor in conjunction with other enrollment activities that we have going on. As I mentioned, we're very fortunate to have an amazing student success and services team here. So it's always great to see these incredible results that they're achieving in the work they're doing. And then we look at delivery method. We've transitioned heavily to blended. You can see in 2019, we still did a lot of traditional and then tier funding and some other elements. And again, the filters exist in all of these. The other thing that we do is if you click a particular data element, data will refilter within the dashboards, even from a click on that element, to show its representation of the whole. So you can see this data is updating here, and for example, all of these have now reset to show what percentage of the whole South Campus is representing when we look at that particular term. Really working to empower everyone in the college to be able to see how data can help them succeed and inform the decisions that they're having. One of the things that we do with our data too is we work really hard to always come at it from a partnership and positive perspective. I think historically sometimes data has been used to go, oh well, here's what's not going the way that we want it to, and we very much work hard to say, hey, here's ways that maybe another lens or another way to look at this can help us continue to support students and really enhance the institution. So we really, as I mentioned, look at that entire funnel. This is an example of our dashboard that is looking at applications. So looking over the last year, where have applications come from? And are they readmissions? So are they students that were stopped out versus new students? What high schools did they come from? If they're direct high school students coming into the institution, and then what programs are they are they applying for and going into? So this is, again, and as with the others, there's filters that can be applied here. So in this particular case, we, as many of you I'm sure have been, we are really focused on equitable outcomes and looking at things from an equity lens. So the ability to look at data from the perspective of different demographic areas within the institution is something that's really important to us. And we're working to add more. These are constantly evolving for us. We do also look at, of course, not just, again, enrollment, but we want to see how students are doing when they're here. So in this case, we're looking at our UGETSI courses and looking at the performance in UGETSI courses. This is looking specifically, again, at fall of 2019 to kind of show a finalized term. And you can see we're looking at it across demographics, across age ranges, student types. So looking at our CCP success rates versus early college and traditional students, and then the grade distributions. So we really want to empower people in the institution to see a lot of detail about how different students are performing and how they can further support students through the work that we're doing and trends over time. As we're looking at this data and this information. And in some of these, so this is an example, we actually have it where you can drill down on the data. So in this case, I drilled down on our humanities subjects, and it really breaks down the individual courses and resets all of the data to show specifically how do those courses perform and how are students performing within that. And I keep saying these lenses, and that's really how we look at it and kind of how we frame it internally as we're building these tools and working with our partners in the institution. But, in this instance, we're wanting to see the awards. We're wanting to see how many complete degrees, diplomas, certificates, and what type they are. So you can see we have this information identified here. And kind of another area where we filter, again, that ability to kind of drill down and break down deeper into data is I've clicked out on construction management technology, and you can see it actually shows how many within that cohort completed an AAS versus completed a certificate. And any of these you can do that same activity. You can see AFA in this particular case. So it gives us another way to look, and we're very interested in how long does it take a student to actually complete. I think we all know for us, we have a large student population that's part-time versus full-time. And so working to reduce that time to completion is something that's very, very key and important for us. So that ability to see that and understand that within our student population is really important. There are a number of these these dashboards, and I by no means want to bore you with all of them, but I think the big key takeaway is we're always trying to make the data accessible. We're always trying to make it usable so that it's easy to use, easy to understand. That's why you will see a lot of graphs, a lot of arrows, and wherever possible in a lot of these cases, we'll actually identify, what the specific data set is if it's not clear. So I'll pull up an example just briefly looking at our program review dashboard. So I'm going to pull up our cybersecurity one that I have here. So in this case, cybersecurity, obviously students studying cybersecurity will take courses that are not specifically cybersecurity courses. So as they look at this program review dashboard, at the bottom, we actually list and identify what courses are specifically included in this dashboard, and how that impacts the data that's available and presented. And in these cases, and where possible, we've seen the performance measures come out recently. We would love to be kind of ahead of the curve on what we're seeing from a performance measure standpoint as much as possible. So we've recreated a lot of the calculations within our dashboards so that our academic programs team members can actually have a sense of where they see their students heading and how things are progressing over time. And this is historically, and I'll use program review as a really good example of this. Historically, when program review time came around, which we know is everybody's favorite time, our program areas would have to fill out a form and request data and send it to us, and then we'd work on the data and we'd send it back to them, and it was a lot of back and forth. And with this work, we've really tried to make it where at any point, even if it's not the program review cycle, they can go in here and they can choose any number of years they want to look at and see exactly what they will be using without having to necessarily reach out to us. Again, they're always welcome to. We love it when they reach out to us because we usually end up finding great ways to enhance the dashboards from that. But it is an area that we're consistently looking at. So that's we're looking down to the course outcome level. We're looking at things like this is a CCP and early college specific view of data to see how our CCP and early college students are performing, because we know that their experience can be distinct from our traditional students. And then we're looking at things like seat utilization. So, we are, like I mentioned, we are multi-campus, and that is something that's really important for us to understand how we serve both Rowan and Cabarrus counties effectively as we're doing our work. So we're really interested in making sure we're offering the right classes and right programs at the right locations, and looking at things like where students are registering, what areas they're interested in looking at, down to the course level. You notice here we have all of the accounting and economics courses for this specific term identified. This is actually this coming fall, because this is something we're looking at a lot right now, identified, and we can see, what are the student counts? How many open seats are there? What is the fill rate? What is the section size? So it really it's really for us about empowering all of our team members at the college to use data in ways that help us enhance the student experience and make it better and really grow from that. Next areas that we're working on is areas like post-completion success. We use Lightcast pretty extensively for that right now, and we've partnered with them. We're working to incorporate that type of data into our dashboards, which is new, and I think you all know can be rather complex. But we're certainly excited about the progress that we've made so far, and none of this would have been possible without wonderful feedback and dialogue from areas all over the college that say, hey, we see this in the dashboard. What about? That's our favorite thing. Whenever someone comes to us and says, oh, what if we added? Can you find out? And it's a rare moment that we go, we don't quite have that. Usually it's, let us think about how we can do that, and then we work to figure it out and work with them to try and make that data available and accessible. So that's kind of a drill down a little bit on what we're doing here at Rowan Cabarrus and how we're trying to support the college holistically to help data be empowering and help us make better decisions for the college. Again, I would say it's just kind of drilling down a little bit more and maybe a little bit more real time than what we're able to see from the wonderful dashboards that have been produced at the system office. And we use the system office dashboards a lot to verify. If we see a number that looks a little bit different than what we've seen at the system office dashboard, we go, oh, how can we modify and make sure that that's lining up? And sometimes that can just be, if it's first-time, full-time students that's in a particular dashboard, say for iPads, we may look at it a little bit more broadly than that. And so understanding those nuances we feel is really important and can really help our partners in the institution and with the work that we're doing to move forward the college as a whole. So that's just a very brief preview and a little bit of information about what we're doing here at Rowan Cabarrus, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions, as I know Elizabeth is as well.
So there is a question in the chat for Dr. Engel from Dana Moore. Are you using Informer 4, Informer 5, or another reporting software?
Sure, that's a great question. So we do have Informer. We have both Informer 4 and Informer 5. I wish I could say we only had one of the two. We're working on migrating to the newest Informer. That's a bit of a process. And there are a lot of reports that we have in Informer that we use heavily, specifically custom reports. In this particular case, these have all been built in Power BI. So Power BI is the dashboarding tool that we use for those dashboards. We use Informer most heavily whenever we get into more one-off types of requests or custom reports that really don't fit a dashboard type of format very well. But we do use Informer extensively. In this particular case, Power BI is our dashboarding. So sometimes we use Informer to export the data. For most of these, we're using the colleague ODS. So what I would say is the colleague ODS is a really great tool. And again, it's available for everyone. You can, though, however, do the same type of work by exporting the data from Informer into a Excel CSV format, again, not to get too technical, and then point Power BI at that if you don't necessarily have ODS available. And you can produce a lot of the same types of stuff. There may be some other challenges you run into from an update standpoint that I think are overcomable, but you certainly could do that.
Do we have any more questions? Feel free. Okay. All right. So do we have any last thoughts from our presenters?
Well, I'll just say I'll put the email address for my team here in the chat, and you can feel free to reach out to us for any questions or suggestions on the system level dashboards. And I'm so happy to be here, and especially to be partnering with Dr. Engel, because I really love to see like what he's doing, what he and his team are doing at the local level, and just building out all those great dashboards. So I'm really happy to be here, and thanks for listening.
I would absolutely echo that. I'll put my email address in as well. I'm always happy to share anything that we can. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm very, very thankful for Elizabeth and her team and the great work that they're doing. It's wonderful to partner together on this, and always exciting to see the progress that we're making.
Well, thank you both, Elizabeth and Dr. Engel, for sharing your expertise and walking us through your dashboards. We really do appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us for this professional development opportunity. Excellent job to both of you. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.